Welcome back to Wings of Bibles. I'm Dustin, and today we'll be covering 21-181 and 21-190. Starting off here, we have 21-181, duration. Now, this is durations of airworthiness certificates. So, paragraph A says, unless sooner surrendered, suspended, revoked, or termination date is otherwise established by the FAA, airworthiness certificates are effective as follows. Standard airworthiness certificates, special airworthiness certificates, primary category, and airworthiness certificates issued for restricted or limited category aircraft are effective as long as the maintenance, preventative maintenance, and alterations are performed in accordance with Part 43 and 91 of this chapter, and the aircraft are registered in the United States. So this paragraph is saying standard airworthiness certificates, special airworthiness certificates don't expire as long as they meet their maintenance and preventative maintenance and alterations. A special flight permit is effective for the period of time specified in the permit. So if you have a special flight permit, on that flight permit will be a period of time in which that permit is valid. A special airworthiness certificate in the light sport category is effective as long as, so this is a special airworthiness certificate for light sport category aircraft. The aircraft meets the definition of a light sport aircraft. The aircraft conforms to its original configuration except for those alterations performed in accordance with an applicable consensus standard and authorized by the aircraft's manufacturer or a person acceptable to the FAA. The aircraft has no unsafe condition and is not likely to develop an unsafe condition, and the aircraft is registered in the United States. So remember, this is only for a special airworthiness certificate in the light sport category. An experimental certificate for research and development showing compliance with regulations, crew training, or market surveys is effective for 1 year after the date of issue or renewal, unless the FAA prescribes a shorter period. The duration of an experimental certificate issued for operating amateur-built aircraft, exhibition, air racing, operating primary kit-built aircraft, or operating light sport aircraft is unlimited, unless the FAA establishes a specific period for good cause. So, experimental aircraft that take part in crew training or market surveys is effective for 1 year. That's the most it can last, unless the FAA says it has to be shorter. Now, an experimental certificate for amateur-built aircraft, exhibition, air racing is unlimited, unless the FAA says so. The owner, operator, or bailee of the aircraft must, upon request, make it available for inspection by the FAA. Upon suspension, revocation, or termination by order of the FAA of an airworthiness certificate, the owner, operator, or bailee of an aircraft must, upon request, surrender the certificate to the FAA. So if the FAA asks you to see the certificate, you have to provide it, and if it's suspended or taken away, you have to surrender that certificate. Up next, we have 21-190, issue of a special airworthiness certificate for a light sport category aircraft. So this part is only for special airworthiness certificates in a light sport category. The FAA issues a special airworthiness certificate in the light sport category to operate a light sport aircraft other than a gyroplane. To be eligible for a special airworthiness certificate in the light sport category, an applicant must provide the FAA with the aircraft's operating instructions, the aircraft's maintenance and inspection procedures, the manufacturer's statement of compliance as described in paragraph C of this section, and the aircraft's flight training supplement. So to even get a special airworthiness certificate, you have to do these things and provide these documents. The aircraft must not have been previously issued a standard, primary, restricted, limited, or provisional airworthiness certificate or a equivalent airworthiness certificate issued by a foreign civil aviation authority. The aircraft must be inspected by the FAA and found to be in a condition for safe operation. So now we're going more into the manufacturer's statement of compliance for light sport category aircraft. The manufacturer's statement of compliance required in paragraph B1, which is up here, 3, specifically this one, of this section must identify the aircraft by make and model, serial number, class, date of manufacture, and consensus standard used. State that the aircraft meets the provisions of the identified consensus standard. State that the aircraft conforms to the manufacturer's design data using the manufacturer's quality assurance system that meets the identified consensus standard. State that the manufacturer will make available to any interested person the following documents that meets the identified consensus standard: the aircraft's operating instructions, the aircraft's maintenance and inspection procedures, the aircraft's flight training supplement. State that the manufacturer will monitor and correct safety of flight issues through the issuance of safety directives and a continued airworthiness system that meets the identified consensus standard. State that at the request of the FAA, the manufacturer will provide unrestricted access to its facilities, and state that the manufacturer, in accordance with a production acceptance test procedure that meets an applicable consensus standard, has ground and flight tested the aircraft, found the aircraft performance acceptable, and determined that the aircraft is in a condition for safe operation. Now, this section is only for light sport aircraft outside of the United States. Manufactured outside the United States, that is. For aircraft manufactured outside of the United States to be eligible for a special airworthiness certificate in the light sport category, an applicant must meet the requirements of paragraph B of this section and provide to the FAA evidence that, so they have to comply with this paragraph up here, and they're going to have to comply with these things. So they have to provide the FAA evidence that the aircraft was manufactured in a country with which the United States has a bilateral airworthiness agreement concerning airplanes or bilateral aviation safety agreement with associated implementation procedures for airworthiness concerning airplanes or an equivalent airworthiness agreement, and the aircraft is eligible for an airworthiness certificate, flight authorization, or similar certification in its country of manufacture. And that's going to do it for this video on 21-181 and 21-190. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. See ya!